Let's talk about Bitcoin surging 10% today. For more on it, let's bring in Dan Ciotoli. He's blockchain analyst at Bespoke. He joins us on the phone. Dan, great to talk to you. What do you make of this move today?
So today, I'd say that Bitcoin is kind of coming back slowly after the crash we've seen. There was a big run-up in December, and then we kind of saw these get-rich-quick investors kind of exiting the space. Everyone rushed in at once, so the inevitable crash happened. But now it's starting to recover. We saw like a bottom around 9,000, which was a little lower than expected, but it looks like Bitcoin is starting to recover a bit.
All right. You recently slashed your Bitcoin target, predicting that it would end the year between $20,000 and $30,000. That's still a big jump, instead of between 30 and 40, though, originally. What would you do with Bitcoin now?
So the thing to look out for, and my big, the driver I think that's going to be bringing Bitcoin up in 2018 is Bitcoin-denominated commerce. And so I'm looking at things like Lightning Network, which could enable low transaction fee transactions and really bring in a new wave of participants into the space.
Okay. Scott?
Dan, thank you very much for coming on the show. My friend Bob just told me that there are over 1,400 different virtual currencies, essentially Bitcoin clones. And if that is the case, when do they start taking away from some of the thunder of Bitcoin? When does Bitcoin start to fall simply because of the avalanche of opportunities that people have for alternatives?
Well, I think it's a bit incorrect to say they're Bitcoin clones. I think there's a lot of tokens out there, a lot of kind of fraud going on as well with these ICOs. But to call them Bitcoin clones, I think is misleading. So I think that you're not going to have these altcoins, as they're referred to, taking away much of the market share that Bitcoin has been so dominant in.
What's the biggest risk, Dan? What's going to keep us from surging again?
So what my worries are is that Lightning Network and those transaction fees are going to stay high. And if I don't see people actually able to use Bitcoin to, say, buy Starbucks or something, I'd be worried that people slowly lose interest, the price kind of levels off or even goes down, and that you don't get the kind of growth that people are expecting.
What could be the next Bitcoin? You sort of mentioned the marketplace out there. There are a lot of competing currencies.
So I think another theme of 2018 to look out for is the privacy in the blockchain. So cryptocurrencies that I'm watching are cryptos that incorporate privacy tech like Monero and Zcash.
All right. And a lot of people out there would say that the crypto market's in a bubble. Would you agree?
I would agree to an extent. I think that there's been a huge rush kind of all at once to get a piece of it, but I think the technology is here to stay, and I think it'll be interesting to see how things play out over the next year.
All right. Thanks so much, Dan. Great talking to you.
Good talking to you, too.
All right, Bob, you're trading Bitcoin futures for us. Give us the levels.
Yeah, so based a lot on what Dan said, I agree with a lot of what Dan said, especially the point about the Lightning Network, which is software that attaches to the blockchain that makes Bitcoin's transactions faster and cheaper, and that's the thing. The transactability is the problem. So I don't see Bitcoin going back up to that 19,000 high that it made about a month and a half back anytime soon. Until those problems are gone, Bitcoin is MySpace. So I want to sell Bitcoin on a little bit of a rally from here, 12,100, and I do want to keep a fairly tight stop, 13,200, because this thing can run. We're trading something that has 5 times the volatility of crude oil, and Scott and I would have laughed at that a few years back. So I'm going to take profits at about 98.20 if it goes there.
All right, Scott, your reaction to this trade?
I think he's got the direction right. I think Bob kind of drew the short straw here. It's really tough to trade Bitcoin. And one caveat about this, if I would not trade it, but if you want to trade it, you have to be very careful with your stops, because these markets, as Bob pointed out, very volatile. So don't think that just because you put in a stop at 13,200 that you're going to get filled at 13,200. You might get filled quite a bit higher than that. So you have to be careful when you're executing all of your trades in this space.
Okay, Bob, final word to you, since you got the short straw today.
Well, I don't mind the short straw. I like these things. I'm a fan of cryptocurrencies as a trade. The store of value story to me is just not a conversation piece at this point. So until, again, there's more transactability in Bitcoin, till they start announcing either agreements with governments or large institutions, I don't think it has a sustainable up move in it anymore.
All right, let's get the risk reward on this trade. Bob is selling CBOE Bitcoin futures at 11,000. He's targeting move down to 9,820. Each contract in this trade worth $11,000. He's risking $1,100 to make $22.80.